This is Channel 8, DeKalb, Sycamore. Live from the Northern Television Center, you're watching the news, sports, and weather for DeKalb and Sycamore. This is TV-8 News.
Good evening and welcome to TV-8 News, everyone. I'm Scott Steele.
I'm Tim Gatz. Thanks for joining us. Like millions of Americans, some DeKalb residents took part in the annual ritual of putting off filing their income tax returns. And officials are offering few words of sympathy for those who waited until the last minute. DeKalb Postmaster Richard Silverman filed his returns a month ago, but he's expecting heaps of returns to come in at the last minute.
We're going to get bombarded, as you probably noticed when you walked in the lobby out there. And we expect to have it right up to closing time, which is at 5 o'clock. Last dispatch is at 6 o'clock. That's the last time the mail will leave DeKalb tonight. But we have to have that mail in by 5:30 in order to give us sufficient time to process that mail, to put it on the trucks to send it out. So
Silverman says the post office has been extremely busy this past week, and he estimates 200 cars go through the drive-up mailbox every half hour. TV-8 talked with a few DeKalb residents this afternoon, and they had lots of different reasons why they're waiting to file or not filing at all. DeKalb resident Richard Peterson says he doesn't want to give the government his money sooner than he has to. Another person says she's not filing at all because the government owes her money. And still another DeKalb resident, Sabra Mitchell, sent in forms over a month ago but had to file again because of the additions on the form. The postmaster also expects people to get their forms sent back for not putting enough postage on the envelope. Silverman warns those who didn't get returns mailed by 5:30 this evening probably will have them postmarked for tomorrow.
The 1988 Illinois Journalist of the Year is Carol Marine. The reporter news anchor for WMAQ-TV, NBC's Channel 5 in Chicago, was given the award by the NIU Journalism Department. Marine got a plaque and a check tonight during the department's annual banquet at the NIU Home Student Center. Every year since 1972, NIU's Journalism Department has honored an outstanding journalist for contributions to the Illinois media and public. Marine, who will turn 40 in October, holds a BA degree from the University of Illinois. She was a high school teacher before beginning her career in broadcasting as a morning talk show host in 1972 at WBIR-TV in Knoxville, Tennessee. Marine joined WMAQ-TV in 1978 as a reporter and weekend newscast anchor in the 6 p.m. slot. A year later, in 1985, she became co-anchor of Channel 5's news at 10 p.m. She also frequently reports for and anchors NBC's Today Show. This award is the latest of many honors for Marine. She's also won the Alfred I. DuPont Columbia Award, 2 Peter Lisagor Awards, 11 Chicago Emmy Awards, an Associated Press Award, and Best Reporter Award from the United Press International. Quite a list. Student awards and scholarships were also given out at the journalism banquet. The Clinton Rosette PTA decided last night it will give a DeKalb High School program $100. The money will go to students concerned about reductions in education or scared. The group is planning to lobby in Springfield May 11th. The PTA project will go towards expenses for the trip. In other PTA business, the association is disappointed with 6th grade teachers' decision not to take their students on a field trip this year. The PTA set aside $5,000 for field trips, but the teachers plan on using their portion for a picnic at Hopkins Park instead. The PTA also decided it will give $200 to improving the Clinton Rosette playground. The school wants more outdoor equipment and would like to make the basketball court much bigger. Money for the project will also come from the Kiwanis Club and the Police Benevolent Association. Finally, 5th and 6th graders will have a balloon release on April 27th. The children are learning about wind currents and plan on putting notes inside the balloons. It's hoped when the balloon lands, the person who finds it will contact the child and tell him how far the balloon went. The teachers thought this would be a fun activity for the students. The PTA is paying for the balloons and helium. The association's next meeting is May 17th.
Tuition at NIU may go up next year. The state's Board of Governors claims 5 colleges in Illinois will be affected unless the government increases income taxes. But the United Republican Fund feels the problems aren't due to lack of tax money, but to extravagant spending. Officials from Western and Eastern Illinois universities think tuition increases are necessary because of higher food costs, utility, and employee costs. The increase may be as much as $100, but the state's Board of Governors has yet to approve the hike. Starting next Monday, local businesses in Sycamore will be recognized by their city council. Every 2 weeks, the council will acknowledge the achievements of 2 local firms. 5 minutes will be taken out of each meeting to talk about the businesses, and the council hopes this will encourage industries to stay in Sycamore. The city's Economic Development Committee says it's important to pat local industry on the back. Cornfest may be 4 months away, but the Cornfest Committee is already making plans and solving problems for the celebration. One committee member feels there might be problems funding the soundstage. NIU usually contributes to Cornfest, but won't this year. Committeeman David Bevito says Cornfest will have to work with half of last year's $14,000 budget. Last year, 8 bands played. This year, Bevito would like 1 more to add many different types of music. Bevito says he may look for local talent. People interested in having a booth have until June to fill out applications. The celebration will cause traffic changes. Locust will be closed between 2nd and 3rd Streets, as will everything west of Locust. This will be done to prevent people from having to cross traffic during the celebration. Contel is set to sponsor a program for children who get lost during Cornfest. Youngsters will be given a bracelet, making it easier for authorities to identify them and return them to their parents. Something new this year is a photo album sponsored by First National Bank. 25 photographers will be asked to cover certain events. The pictures will be put in an album and displayed at the bank. Eventually, this album will be put in the DeKalb Library. Coming up, more local news, and it's the 11th day for a group of 32 hostages on a Kuwaiti jet. Stick around for those details.
Back on this farm all my life. I do it for my son.
My dad? He's great.
His mama made me promise that I'd send him to college, but she didn't say how.
But he did it.
By keeping tuitions affordable, the United Negro College Fund has helped fulfill some wonderful dreams.
And he studied agriculture, so he could come back and help his old man.
Support the United Negro College Fund.
I saw that there was an image behind drinking, the people that drank, that they looked older and sophisticated.
I was 11 when I lost my virginity to a guy. I was 17. I was drunk.
Sometimes I'd sleep in the woods. If I didn't sleep in the woods, I slept on the corner. If I didn't sleep on the corner, I slept at someone's house who I didn't even know.
Hey, yo, alcohol is a drug, and you can get hooked on it. And the younger you start, the more damage you can do.
If you want to be somebody, have a family, have a future, just say no.
Say no and say yes to your life.
A 30-year-old NIU student is being held in a Bartlett jail today on charges of child sex abuse. Glenn Madigan was arrested in his Ridge Street home today on 4 counts of child abuse. Police reports say Madigan is a scout leader who is accused of luring his victims home after scout meetings, then serving them liquor, and then abusing them. The 4 counts span from the spring of 1986 to September of 1987. 2 motorcyclists were arrested after a high-speed chase through DeKalb last night at around midnight. 21-year-old John Skouras of Chicago was charged with reckless driving, speeding, having a suspended driver's license, and having an expired registration. 22-year-old Clark Cavish of Dolton, Illinois, was charged with having an invalid registration, speeding, and violating his license class. A DeKalb police officer chased the 2 when he found them speeding west on Lincoln Highway, but later lost them. The officer parked and waited at Annie Glidden and Lincoln Highways. The motorcycles reappeared 5 minutes later from the west drive of Colonial Townhouses. The 2 were picked up around Hillcrest and Dresser Roads.
National wholesale food prices rose 0.7% in March, but DeKalb's only wholesaler doesn't seem to be affected yet. A Labor Department report says the national rise is due to an increase in the Producer Price Index for finished goods. The index is often used as an indicator of future consumer prices. The Federal Reserve Board reports industrial production is up 0.1% in March, thanks to an increased output of business equipment and motor vehicles. This put the level of industrialized production 5.6% higher than last March. But overall production of consumer goods was unchanged, and output of consumer goods fell in March. The government also reports business plans to spend $420 billion on new buildings and equipment next year. That would be an 8% rise from 1987 and the highest level ever. If the increase occurs, it would be the biggest upturn in spending since 1985. Local land values leaped in value compared to other locations in the nation. Farm officials are saying today top quality land in northern Illinois has jumped 20% in value. A federal report says farmland value increased only 3% nationally. But when these figures are adjusted for inflation, that land's value is actually down slightly. Land values are down 2% in the southern Great Plains, the Rocky Mountain states, and the West Coast. By contrast, land prices are up 19% in Iowa and 14% in Minnesota.
Local child care support groups are planning this weekend to kick off their campaign for improving child care in the U.S. A rally is scheduled for this Sunday in Chicago's Lincoln Park. A representative from the DeKalb County Coordinated Child Care expects 5,000 people to attend. Mickey Chulik says 200 child care groups are involved. The rally is being held in hopes of gaining support for a federal bill called Act for Better Child Care, and it would give $2.5 billion for child care. Right now, the bill is being reviewed by lawmakers in Washington. If the bill was passed, the money might be given to low and moderate income families or used for strengthening licensing requirements and enforcement, providing training for child care staff, and increasing staff salaries. Chulik estimates 1,500 children in DeKalb County are taken care of in daycare centers. And taking a look at national news, hijackers entering their 11th day of holding 31 hostages aboard a Kuwaiti Airlines jet may be softening their stand. The hijackers have been demanding Kuwait release 17 Shiite prisoners. But a Kuwait-run radio station reports the 8 Muslim hijackers told Algerian authorities they would free their captives if just 2 of the Shiites are released. The radio station reports Kuwait is still rejecting this scaled-down demand.
A new round of peace talks between the Nicaraguan government and the Contra rebels is underway. The Contra advance team arrived yesterday in Managua to prepare for the meeting, despite uncertainty over whether negotiations would be held at all. But the two sides quickly worked through the problems and agreed to go ahead working on a settlement. More violence erupted in 6 Israeli-occupied towns and refugee camps today, and Palestinian sources in Jerusalem say Israeli soldiers shot and wounded at least 4 Arabs outside a West Bank military prison. But there was no evidence today at a West Bank cemetery when a 15-year-old Jewish girl was buried. The girl had been killed by a bullet fired by one of her own Israeli escorts last week. Also, the United States stood by Israel today in a vote in the United Nations Security Council. The U.S. cast only one no vote on a movement that criticized Israelis' actions against the Palestinians. The U.S. veto kills a proposal which had an overall of 14-1. And look who's here, Alyssa, our weekend weather woman. Alyssa, I understand we're in for a frosty night tonight?
Yes, but I think you'll like the weekend ahead. We'll have the forecast when TV-8 News continues.
All right.
"35 years ago, there was little hope for a cure for cystic fibrosis, America's leading genetic killer of children. But today, scientists are making startling advances in cystic fibrosis research, bringing us closer to a cure than ever. But this research can only continue with your vitally needed support. Please give. Together, we can make cystic fibrosis history."
April 10th through the 16th has been designated National Medical Laboratory Week. More than 200,000 certified laboratory professionals contribute to quality health care in this country. The Medical Technology Program and the School of Allied Health Professions, Northern Illinois University, salute these highly skilled and dedicated professionals whose continuing commitment to obtaining reliable medical data makes a vital contribution to the maintenance of health as well as the quality of patient care.
Welcome back, everyone. Our current conditions outside are a temperature of 38 degrees. The relative humidity is at 50%. Our barometer is steady at 30.08 inches, and the winds are out of the northwest. Chicago's O'Hare Airport is reporting 35 degrees and cloudy skies. The lakefront slightly warmer at 37. Rockford's at 39 and mostly cloudy skies, while Peoria has clear skies and a temperature of 44. Our high today was 52, which isn't far off our normal, but with the northwest winds, it felt fairly chilly. Our low was 30, much below the normal of 37. Records for this date are as high as 82 in 1977 and 17 degrees in 1928. As we look at the nation's weather map for today, we see most of the northern United States blanketed by high pressure. That gave us northwesterly winds, which made it fairly cool, and the clouds have moved in now tonight. Looking across the rest of the nation, however, rains are developing towards the northeast, and along an unusually extensive stationary frontal band, there's rains into the mid-south and even stronger showers into Texas. Out into the west, we'll see some showers developing there, but this dominant high-pressure system is still going to remain over the weekend, so it'll give us fairly nice temperatures. As we look towards tomorrow, the high pressure moves in towards Missouri. That's going to mean two things for us. First of all, winds out of the west, and also a general warm-up. We should be up into the 60s, and then by Sunday, all the way up into the 70s finally. But on Saturday, we do want to start watching a twin area of low pressure developing into the southwest that might threaten us with rains, but fortunately not this weekend, not until Monday at least. So the highs for tomorrow put us right at the band of 60s, between 60s and 50s, so we might be able to see 60 degrees tomorrow. Colder temperatures off to the northeast, even 30s and 40s. But throughout much of the rest of the nation, still 60s and 70s everywhere you look. And by Sunday, finally back where we want to be for spring, we should be up to 70 degrees. The sky coverage for Sunday shows us partly cloudy skies, but nothing to obscure a great deal of sunshine. So we're going to see fairly windy conditions, but we'll be up to 72. I think everyone should like that. But we do want to watch the system towards the towards the southwest, which is going to be merging with a cold front towards the north, which is going to mean not only colder temperatures for us early next week, but also a chance for showers. But let's not forget that we have a nice weekend ahead. Tonight's clear and cold conditions might produce some frost. The winds will be out of the northwest at 5, but our low will be all the way down to 27 degrees. Tomorrow's sunrise is at 6:12. It'll be the start of a nice weekend, mostly sunny and warmer. The winds will be a moderate 10 to 15 miles per hour, and our high will be 60. Looking towards tomorrow night, sunset is at 7:37. It will be clear but not as cold because of the warm west winds. We'll only be down to 39 degrees. Looking towards Sunday, however, mostly sunny day again, and warmer, 72 for the high temperature. That'll be definitely the high point of the weekend. The 5-day forecast, though, shows us that by Monday we're cooling off down to 50 degrees with a chance of showers. Tuesday, 54 and cloudy, and Wednesday, fairly much the same temperature of 53, but then we'll be clearing out. So enjoy this weekend, Tim, because next week it's going to be back to work and rainy skies.
Get out and enjoy it while we got it, I guess, huh?
That's right.
All right, thank you very much, Alyssa. Scott?
A U.S. serviceman from Illinois is among the 16 people injured after a car bomb exploded yesterday outside a crowded USO club in Naples, Italy. The Navy has identified the wounded Illinois sailor as 38-year-old Charles Roberts of East St. Louis. It is not yet known how serious his injuries are. Among those left dead from the explosion is a U.S. Navy enlisted woman whose identity is being withheld until her family is notified. In all, the blast killed 5 people and wounded 16. Italian police suspect a Japanese terrorist group in the attack. Meanwhile, New Jersey police are holding a Japanese man caught with 3 homemade pipe bombs. Police are investigating his links to that terrorist group.
And police in 2 other countries are investigating more bombings today. A bomb packed with nails exploded near Madrid today at a U.S. Air Force facility. Officials are saying no one was seen by the security patrol when the bomb went off. No one was hurt in that blast either. Finally, a separate bombing was reported last night in the Colombian city of Medellin, a well-known location for drug traffickers. No one was injured in that explosion, but there was some damage. Presidential hopefuls stepped up their campaigning efforts going into the final weekend before the New York primary. On the Democratic side, frontrunner Michael Dukakis visited a Brooklyn school today, pushing for drug-free schools by 1990. Jesse Jackson pleaded for understanding from Jewish voters during a debate last night. He wants forgiveness for his 1984 remark when he referred to New York City as Hymietown. But Jackson's campaign got a boost yesterday with a free commercial from movie director Spike Lee. The commercial shows Jackson walking city streets declaring a war on drugs. Lee says the commercial is his way of helping the Jackson cause. Meanwhile, an ABC poll released yesterday shows Dukakis almost 15 points ahead of Jackson in New York. Senator Albert Gore remains a distant third. Recent polls by CBS News and the Marist Institute of Public Opinion show similar results. And looking at the Republicans, George Bush and Robert Dole put their differences aside today. Dole is helping Bush with the vice president's campaign now. Tonight, Bush is expected to have dinner with former President Richard Nixon at the vice president's home. The dinner is being called a private visit. And turning to sports with John Herbert. John, how did the DeKalb Bard freshman baseball team do yesterday?
Well, I'll tell you, Tim, they're looking pretty darn good this year, and I'll have the details and some highlights for you of yesterday's game when we come back, so please stay with us.
Suicide is is the third leading cause of death among young people.
Two-thirds of our children use an illegal drug by the time they finish high
3
school.
in 10 teenage girls become pregnant at least once.
When you send him out on his own, will he have the strength to beat these odds? Even though you try to give him everything, your child needs the values and sense of self religion offers. Your church or synagogue can help, because you haven't given them everything until you give them something to believe in.
Brought to you by Religion and American Life.
I sat in my apartment and turned on the gas. I was crazy from cocaine. I couldn't live without it. That wasn't me. It was somebody else. When I saw cocaine was more important than me, I woke up. Now I'm slapping myself with reality to stay strong. I'll be struggling for the rest of my life. Anyone tells you cocaine's not addictive, they lie.
Call 1-800-662-HELP.
Welcome back to DeKalb Sycamore. The DeKalb Barb freshman-sophomore baseball team ups its season record to 4-1 yesterday with a win over the Streamwood Sabres. The score was close throughout the game, and by the bottom of the fourth, DeKalb led 5-4. But even after the Sabres went ahead in the fifth, Coach Dick Linenberger's Barbs just didn't give up. Justin Keck led the comeback with a double, a triple, and 3 scored runs, including this game winner on a wild pitch in the bottom of the 6th. Jason French came on in relief of Chris Pegram in the 7th and got this final out coming up to wrap up the victory. The Barbs are now 2-0 in conference play, and Coach Linenberger says the cold was definitely a factor in yesterday's game.
Well, today's game was really a little bit tougher than it was yesterday. We beat them 16-5 yesterday, and I think we were still thinking about the score. Plus, yesterday was nice and warm, and today was cold, and it was a little hard to get our rhythm going, and I don't think it ever started. Had some good hits. Justin Keck did a nice job hitting the ball, and a nice score at home plate when he made it in and make that leading run. Other than that, it was cold, and I hope it's warmer tomorrow.
Chris Pegram went 2 for 4, and Al Thurman also added 2 hits. Frosh Soft's next game is tomorrow at Streamwood. And in Sycamore High School sophomore softball action at home against Jacobs today, the Lady Spartans, behind the strong pitching of Tara Miljanovic, shut out the visiting team 10-0 in 5 innings. And 10-0 happens to be the Spartans' season record this far into what looks to be an excellent softball season for the Spartans. Junior center fielder Jenny McCoy led the hitting attack, smashed her 3rd homer of the season, and Deanna Carrier added 2 RBIs to the Spartan cause. Miljanovic is 9-0 this season. She struck out 6, walked 2, and gave up 2 hits. The Spartans next take on Oswego. That and away game, actually 2 games. It's a doubleheader. That tomorrow, the opener scheduled to begin at 1:30. Well, 5-time Olympian Willie White will be on NIU's campus Saturday, April 30th. She'll be one of the participants in a 4-mile walkathon to benefit Northern Illinois University men and women's intercollegiate athletics. White was part of the 1956, 1960, 1964, 1968, and 1972 Olympic Games. She took her first medal, a silver, at the Melbourne, Australia Olympics in 1956. White is currently on the board of directors for the Women's Sports Foundation, and she believes this walk is good for 2 reasons: to give a boost to the Women's Sports Foundation and to support women's athletics. Well, today, NIU junior softball player Jill Justin walks away with another honor. This time, she's been named NIU Women Athlete of the Year. Justin led the sophomore team last season in 13 offensive categories, including longest hitting streak, runs batted in, hits, doubles, triples, and runs scored. In her 2 seasons here, she's rewritten 7 NIU career records, among them doubles, homers, and runs scored. Other award-winning Lady Huskies are Lisa Foss, of course, for the 2nd time as the basketball team's most valuable player, and Colleen Preston as the field hockey most valuable player. Husky softballer Laura Peterson was also honored as the 1988 Northern Illinois Club Scholar Athlete. Peterson has a 3.94 GPA and is a member of the Dean's List, Golden Key Honor Society, and the Mortar Board. I'll tell you, it's a wonder to me how such good athletes can maintain such good grades.
3.94. That's something else.
It's great to see all that warm weather sports in your report.
Definitely, Scott. I'm pretty much through with basketball.
Thanks, John.
Thanks a lot, John. Scott?
The Illinois Commerce Commission says Commonwealth Edison mismanaged the construction of their Briarwood nuclear plant. The commission claims $872 million were added to the cost of the plant. The Briarwood generator went online last November at a final cost of $3.3 billion. The independent 8-volume report states the plant could have been finished and been much less expensive.
And on a lighter note, the main ingredient for this contest is your standard string of spaghetti. For what contest is this, you ask? Well, for a spaghetti eating contest, of course. 100 yards of it, to be exact, is how much the contestants in London must eat. A lot of food, but no word yet on how many Alka-Seltzers they ate afterwards. Well, that wraps it up for tonight's edition of TV-8 News. I'd like to thank a special guest co-anchor, Scott Steele, for coming down from Green Bay to return to his TV-8 roots here. Thanks a lot, Scott, for being with us.
Thanks a lot. There was no word on how much Alka-Seltzer was passed out at the journalism banquet after the chicken either.
That's a good point.
From all of us here, thanks a lot for joining us. I'm Scott Steele. Have a great weekend and good night.
Good night.
Good night.